welcome back to Optional Class Behind the Scenes. We're here to do another stat increase following episode 5. So just like before, I'm going to go around the table and ask you kind of one by one what your thoughts are. And we're going to start, we started with, I think, Adrien last time, so let's start with Jude.
Hello. So I had some trouble making this decision, but ultimately I decided that I would put 2 of my 3 available stat increase points into wisdom. Andy did quite well on survival checks, the last 2, episodes. And I think that is connected to, a broader arc he's had. Related to, wisdom. So that feels really, a good move to me. And I've put my remaining point into strength, which ups me from a 12 to a 13, so it doesn't change my modifier at all, which feels really, correct in this moment. It's reflecting this, slow but steady progress, that he's making, with Adrien and with the halberd, in particular, and this, steady, but not, instinctual or rapid movement towards, a more strength-based build.
Okay.
Which means that my stats are now 13 in strength, 14 in dex, 14 in con, 11 in int, 16 in whiz, and 10 in charisma.
Awesome. Andy's looking pretty good.
Strong.
Yarrow, what are you kind of thinking?
I got no clue. I'll be so real. Because there's so many things I want to do with this, and I only have 3 points to go around. So, if it had been before last episode, it would have been 2 into wisdom, 1 into con. Easy peasy. So I'm trying to remember that when I think about this. Because based on last episode, it would be dex and charisma. Dex and intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that gives me 4 stats to raise. And I can only pick 2 to 3. So I'm really torn. I think definitely wisdom, just because of how much I feel like Yarrow learned in episode 4. And then I think 1 into dex, because of the scimitar lesson. And then I'm really torn on if, with that last point, I go intelligence, because I was really being a clue hound in the castle. Just a tad. Not manic at all. Just hyperfixating. But also wasn't rolling incredible on the investigation. However, was also the one who found the, dust spot on the back of the painting, which indicated things, as well as, the one who used the fire for the... So, used some, still, roleplay more so, intelligence-based skills. And then with con, really just that general, outdoorsiness for the first time in her life. Feels hard not to honor that.
Mm-hmm.
As well as the fact that, and this is also wisdom, she's stayed relatively calm for her. And so I'm really torn. Does anyone have any advice?
I think...
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I think being outside for the first time ever
That's
is,
always a good way to
big
decide.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a new fidget. Yeah. And it just feels wrong not to put 1 into intelligence after investigating the tower.
Yeah.
You know? But then that takes away either dex or con or wisdom. Both of those feel really good. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a point to wisdom and con. Just for the outdoorsiness and the open-minded. I really think Yarrow had some really awesome wisdom moments this time. Of sort of exploration of herself. So I'm gonna do that. And then for my last point, let me adjust my modifiers, because that changes the modifier for my con. I'm going to give intelligence a break. I'm going to do dex, because even though I think the role play does say a lot for the intelligence, I think I've put a lot into intelligence already. So I'll just say, since I can't decide between the two of them, I'll go on a slightly more meta level of like, I haven't done as much in dex as I have intelligence.
Yeah.
And also, I think that actually having a weapon that she felt good at and having that like flow for the first time, I think was like a really big moment that sort of goes hand in hand with the wisdom and con. And so I think it's a more thematic, like, all-together thing, while the intelligence was a separate thing that I feel like isn't something she's grown in. I think it's something she's displaying, but it's in line with everything we've already done and hasn't really been a growth point. And I feel like the con, the wisdom, the dex have all been growth points these last few episodes. So that brings me to a 5 strength, 12 dexterity. So that bumps me up. I finally have a bonus to dex. It's not flat. A 12 constitution, a 15 intelligence, a 13 wisdom, and a 14 charisma.
Okay. Henry, where are we at?
So if you saw the last few episodes, you know that Henry's had some insane roles recently. Truly unreal.
I'm checking your
But
dice
a lot
for
of
weights.
these roles were around specific things. Like survival was... I got a number of nat 20s on survivals, which I think is really interesting with Henry, because kind of like Gary, she's in the same boat, like for the first time in her life, really being alone. And like kind of, we talked about in that episode, like being free for the first time and like maybe getting the chance to really define who Henry is for the first time on her own terms. And so having the survival and knowing that she can trust herself to do things like get through the woods, get herself to safety, light a fire. Like all of these were things that mark her as somebody who is a survivor and can survive and like get herself to safety and build herself up. So kind of on that, I'm thinking definitely putting 2 into wisdom for just kind of the growth point of like knowing that like being afraid of not being able to define herself is fine, but like that there is something more than that. She kind of felt that safety at the end there. And then 1 into dexterity for things like the fire. I think she got that 20 for like sticking her hand in the wall. Or like for feeling the bricks.
Wild.
Unreal. But like having that trust in herself. All of those were times where like she really trusted herself to know what to do or how to do something, and she pulled it off.
Yeah.
So 1 in dex, 2 in wisdom. So that gives me an 11 strength, a 13 dex, 11 constitution, 10 intelligence, 11 wisdom, and 15 charisma. So still fairly mediocre across the board. I have a lot of zeros in my bonuses, but we are getting there.
All right.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
And finally, Clary, or Adrien, where is Clary at?
So if you had asked me this in between episodes 4 and 5, I would have said, well, she carried that heavy sack of snacks, and she had some really good insight rolls. So at that time, I would have put maybe 1 into strength and 2 into wisdom. However, with session 5, consistently struggling to roll well on survival checks. So that's not so much for wisdom. And then she had some interesting intelligence checks. Clary found the markings on the building through a history check, and also was able to figure out that the writing on the letter was mirrored. And so I think that's probably worth a point to intelligence. And then dexterity, I think, just due to doing well in the weapons practice. So I'm definitely putting a point in intelligence. I'm definitely putting a point in wisdom. I'm just not sure if 0.3 should go in Wiz or Dex.
So
Because,
sorry, you've got a point in wisdom
So-
and intelligence so far?
yeah, and I think,
The-
honestly, I don't think I can justify 2 points to wisdom just because the wisdom
Yeah.
wasn't really whizzing. And
Yeah, but your
your dex
dexterity
was.
was
The
like,
dexterity,
you
I
really
think, yeah,
were.
split it across.
Yeah.
so I think I will split it across.
Yeah.
This leaves me with, I'm kind of under modified at this point because I have a lot of, this will give me, 3 odd stats.
I'm
So
in the same boat, so we're good.
I feel, but I think it's appropriate
This
though
level
because
up is what bumped me from 2 11s to 2 12s.
yeah,
So it's like
no, I think it's appropriate
I
because
still have a lot of odds.
I think it's appropriate because Clary, maybe with her wisdom especially, is sort of, the door has opened. She's starting to see, okay, I need to like maybe take some personal responsibility for myself and be more aware of my surroundings, because it's not always just my safe little bubble out here. And so I think she's had the realization, and the growth from that realization will come. So that puts me at strength is remaining at 6, which I know I'd hope to fix, but that's not how it went.
You gotta have a
Yeah,
gotta have
I
a
really
dollar.
one day we'll
What?
see if I can get even just one more point into strength to get me
Yeah.
from a 5 to a 6. I'll take a 6. I'll take a 6.
So we've got strength 6, dex 15, con 12, intelligence 14, wisdom 13, and charisma 9.
Nice.
Bam.
So I know where I want
Fantastic.
those points to go
Right?
next time.
All right, and
See,
next
mine
time,
is just like I need to boost. I must boost.
yeah, and we'll have to see what happens next time. Maybe we'll have another stat change after the next episode, which is episode 6. Tune in next week for that, and hopefully we'll see you there. Until then,
See you in class.
not doing that.
I'm gonna keep trying.